Hey everyone, Camelot331 here, and today I have a story that shows just how truly evil GameStop is. This story completely outlines how terrible they are. So as plenty of you are probably aware, it's a good idea for businesses that are sales-based to lead the way in compensation and positive reinforcement. Well, GameStop attempted to do these things in their own little GameStop-y way every so often. Of course, instead of offering commission or increased pay for increasing sales for the company, I mean, why would any profit-oriented company consider a ludicrous idea like that? Instead, they get the regional and the market VP to call and congratulate you, because that's exactly what us poor folk need. We need 2 millionaires calling us being like, hey, thanks for making me more millions. You little guy. Also, as a tiny bonus, they would give the store 3 extra hours of payroll, which you would know. If you work at GameStop part-time, 3 hours is a lot. Hours are scarce at GameStop. Well, during the holiday season one year, I was managing a store for GameStop, and they decided to roll out a new contest with a reward, and I mean like a real reward. The associate in each region, they get the most reserves on Call of Duty the week before launch, got their entire Thanksgiving paid for in the form of a $250 bonus, which is a huge deal for people, especially one person in particular, my third key, which is basically a part-time manager. Now, my third key at this point was this sweet little girl. She would never hurt a fly, she would never wrong anybody, and she always looked on the bright side of her job and her life. Unfortunately, there was just a little problem. Her dad had passed away when she was little, and her mom was sick, so she basically had to work 3 jobs just to take care of her mom and her little sister. And even with all of that, she still smiled every single day, even though she never knew if she was going to be able to provide food the next day for her family. So as you can probably imagine, this contest was a game changer for her. She hasn't celebrated a holiday in years due to lack of funds, like in years. Usually me and the other associates would, kind of help her during holidays, bring her food and such, just to kind of help out. So this contest was a huge opportunity for her to basically celebrate Thanksgiving with her family and then have some money left over. It's going to change her life, man. So the next week the contest started, and never in my life have I seen someone go that ham. Unless it was egg at like a pasta or pizza buffet. Other than that, no. She was getting like a Call of Duty reserve on every single transaction, man. She had some pretty intense puppy dog eyes, man. You couldn't say no. And she was really sweet about it. I was just watching in awe because I knew no one in this store had a chance at this contest other than her. To be honest, when we got a few days in, when we would get an opportunity for a Call of Duty reserve, we would just give it to her. Be like, hey, take this. You take this. Because we were all rooting for her. It just meant the world to her. So let's have it. It's fine. So every day they would send out updates showing everybody where they were in these reserves for this contest. And my little tiny low traffic store was number 1 with my third key leading the way. I couldn't believe it. My DM couldn't believe it. No one really could. So by the time the contest was over, we were at 284 reserves for Call of Duty just that week. Just that week, 284. Which put her in the lead of the contest by just over a dozen reserves. And what's even more crazy is she did it all legitimately. We pulled up the email and she saw the names being announced for the contest, and she saw hers on there and she was tearing up and she was hugging everybody. It was fantastic. It was truly an awesome thing to witness. So the midnight launch for Call of Duty finally came. A side note, if any of you watching worked for GameStop back then, you'll probably remember this. Activision that year gave GameStop a lump sum of money to allocate 8 more hours to every single store in the entire company for their launch, for their Call of Duty game. Which means it was probably a couple $1 million, because the market share that GameStop carried back in those days was literally almost all market share. So it was probably a lot of money that they gave GameStop. And it helped us tremendously. To have 2 extra people at my tiny little store during a midnight launch that had over 800 reserves. Oof. We had a huge tournament. We had food. It was great. And Egg didn't show up and ruin the entire night. So it was like pure magic. Well, the midnight was on a Monday night, So we sold through the games the rest of the week like normal, and we had a record week in sales, GameStop as a company. It was GameStop's largest profit week to date in software. So you remember those hours I was talking about just a second ago that they allocated to the stores that Activision paid for? Well, Thursday of that week, GameStop announced via email that every single store in the entire country had to cut 8 hours. Shocking. By the end of the week, we had to cut 8 hours by the end of the week. So are you following? Activision paid that money to GameStop for those 8 hours. Then GameStop 3 days later announces that they want every single store to cut 8 hours. Meaning, Activision gave them those millions, and GameStop literally pocketed it. They're just like... And they didn't even try to hide it, like, at all. And of course, everybody was pissed about having to cut hours, but what can you do? And I wasn't, like, super upset, because no one really liked Activision at the time anyway. And who really cares about two giant companies stealing from each other? So about a week passed after the launch, and my third key was curious to when she was going to get that $250, bonus payout for that contest she had won. So I went to the contest email, and we read it, and it said it was going to be paid out the week after Thanksgiving. Which kind of sucked, because she wouldn't have the money basically in time for Thanksgiving, but she wasn't super upset because she could just buy all the stuff now, and then when she got paid, she was reimbursed. So it wasn't really a big deal to her. So she went to the store and bought mountains of food, and then she invited everybody at the store to the Thanksgiving as well. It was going to be a party, man. So 2 days before Black Friday, we got a lengthy email basically going over the sales we were going to have and solidifying the stipulations behind them, who would work what shifts and whatnot. And since the store manager was on salary back then, I worked 18 hours that day. It was great. My third key had to work 13 hours. But don't worry, she had 3 off days prior to Black Friday. Because you can't give an associate overtime during the biggest money-making day of the year. Gotta maximize those profits, man. Well, going through that email, I got to the very bottom and I noticed something. It said, due to a miscalculation of Call of Duty reservation numbers, we have decided to cancel the payout to all the associates who had won the contest. My heart sunk instantly. My third key had bought over $200 of food that she can't now afford because she's not getting this bonus that she was promised for winning this contest. Keep in mind, she got about 200 reserves that week herself, meaning that she made the company roughly $3,000 in pure profit after cost. So I looked down at the phone and I picked it up and I called her and asked her if she could come up to the store because she was off that day. We went and sat down in the back and I had printed off that email and I read the last line to her. And I will never forget the look on her face when her chin started to quiver and tears started rolling down her face. It took everything that I had to hold back my own tears, and I just sat there in silence. Then she dried up her tears and she just said it was okay. She would find a way. She would ask for extra shifts at her serving job. It'd be fine. I've had a lot of tough conversations in my career. I mean, countless ones. But that one right there, I've never dreaded more. Never. Sitting there waiting for her to get to the store, I never took my eyes off like the digital clock that was on the computer. Never. Just sat there tapping my finger, just waiting. So I had an idea. I got the staff together and I asked if everybody would be willing to chip in a couple bucks basically to help reimburse my third key for all the Thanksgiving food that she got. And we were able to come up with the 250 bucks. Now my third key absolutely hated handouts. She hated handouts, but I was able to convince her to take it. I told her that she had won that contest and this was the reward. She earned every dime of it. And then we all had a great Thanksgiving. We went to her house, smashed a lot of food. I got real fat. It was fantastic. So if that right there doesn't show you how evil that company is, then I don't know what else can. I don't know what else can, man. It's just so crazy to me that like companies will make 10, 20, 30, $50 million in a week in profits or something. And they will have an obligation to pay, what, $10,000 to winners for a contest. And they're so greedy that $50 million amount, they can't take 10 grand out of it. That's crazy to me. Dude, if I had $50 million, I would give 10 grand to everybody I saw. Everybody would have Ferraris. Every one of my friends would have Ferraris. They only get yellow, but they would all have Ferraris. You would all have Ferraris right now. Jacob would have a Ferrari. Dralis would have a Ferrari. Gloria would have a Ferrari. We would all have Ferraris. It would be great. So if you ever see a contest rolled out by your company, be wary. Because if they're anything like GameStop, they are going to pocket it and leave you high and dry, man. So that's all I have today. So thanks so much for everybody who supports me. Thanks for checking out my dumb videos. I'm going to keep making dumb videos. Remember, I will be streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Be there, man. Be there. We have a good time. F's in the chat. F's in the chat all day. Thank you so much to my patrons. Derek, Soft Joe, always in my streams. John Shoemaker, always in my streams. And the girl next door who never misses a stream. That's what I'm talking about. I love you all. So until next time, get on it, doggone it. Is anyone tired of me doing the same thing? Bye.